You're tuned in to Tom Foolery.
All right, what's up, guys? This is Tom Foolery, episode 15. I've got Don Emilio Zeno here with me. Say hey, Don.
Hey, Don. I'm just kidding. Hey, Tom, nice to be with you.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on. We had a guy that I actually just met who introduced us. You last minute jumped on to replace somebody else, so I appreciate that.
No, thank you for having me.
And you've actually I'm doing podcasting, but you're actually the expert in this area, right?
Well, I wouldn't, what is an expert in any field? I'm a great connoisseur because I've done, mainstream radio for a couple of years here in Montreal, where I'm from. I'm Canadian. And I've also done, of course, numerous MP3s and 4s and podcasts and what have you casts, in the last 10 years. So I'm very, very comfortable, as you can tell, whether it be live radio or, pre-recorded. So it's all a question of, content. How can you get the content out there? Is it credible? Because that is the biggest question, because people nowadays will call you out on whatever you state. And if you're not saying the right things, that could be the beginning of the end. So you got to make sure you know what you're saying. You can't just fabricate a story. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I guess I initially had somebody coming on because of conspiracy theories, and we've had a bunch of people come on about conspiracy theories, especially related to coronavirus and stuff like that. And you said you're in Montreal, right?
I'm in Montreal, but make no mistake, all of my connections are predominantly in the States because I own and operate. I might as well plug myself, get a free advertising, right? Live on air. I own and operate a call center referral agency called callcentersplus.com. Centers spelled with an S, and you can see my whole logo in the background there. You follow? So that's what I do and have been doing for the last 22 years. And I've been doing radio for the last 13 years. And then, of course, I've been dabbling with videos for the last 6 or 7 years,
Yeah, for anybody who's listening and not watching on video, this guy's got a great setup. I feel bare right now.
No, I love your. Are you kidding? I love your Keith Ledger poster in the background. Very iconic.
Yeah.
Like I said, people don't care nowadays. I mean, we've seen it with mainstream because let's dive into the COVID-19. Because of the COVID, mainstream actors, actresses, key anchors working from home in their pajamas, quasi, what people don't care. This is the new reality. What they want to hear is that kind of, is he saying the right shit? I'm allowed to say shit, right?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so is he expectorating the right shit? Because if you're not, people are going to call you out on it. And, we're in an information world nowadays. So they'll call you out. And if you're saying the wrong things, they'll just forget it. I'm not going to listen to this guy ever again. So you got to really make sure you're saying the right things, pro or con. And by the way, I hope you're not going to ask me political correct questions, because I stay away from religions and politics, and that's how I manage to make a lot of friends worldwide.
Sure.
Don't ask me religions and politics, because I'm not going to answer.
Fair enough. To tell you, that is 90% of the show is religion and politics. We do philosophy and theology and all of that stuff.
Don't get me wrong. I believe, hear me out. I believe that there's one supreme being, let's call him God for all intents purposes. And I pray to him, it or her or the universe or whatever spiritual being it is, and I'm fine with that, because you need to believe in something. I do believe in the afterlife, for example. Otherwise, It's not worth making all these sacrifices during this lifetime, knowing that you're going to die and then wither away. The ants and varmints are going to eat you alive, or you're going to be cremated, or what have you. No, I'd like to think my soul will detach from this old decrepit body and move on to the afterlife. And that's the only thing that keeps me going, to tell you the truth. So we probably believe in the same theories you and I, preach. But like I said, I stay away from religions and politics, and this way I offend no one.
Yeah, I offend everybody, so I.
Good for you. Good for you. It's the way it should be.
Yeah. All right. So, actually, let me ask you this first, because this is blowing up on my timeline today. Have you heard of this? Like, what is it? The black coronavirus people, or the black? There's like I can't remember what it's called. It's like black coronavirus squad or something like that. It's a woman who used to work for Dr. Fauci, who says that he shut her down, and she's been on like 10-20 different shows, and all of these shows, every time somebody posted on Facebook saying or Twitter saying, hey, check this out, here's a link to this video, I click on it every time and the video's taken down. Every single time.
I've come across, to answer your loaded question, if I may refer to it as that, I've come across many of those in the last 2 months. People send me videos because on account of the work that I do. But here's my take on this. You've got to be very, very careful, because anyone, including the grandma who's knitting sweaters in her basement, decides she's going to be a podcast star and say something intelligent about the subject matter. And now we've got billions of podcasts in the internet world. Which one is real? Which one is not real? Just like in the UFO business that I'm in, 95% of the UFO sightings can be explained, but it's the 5% that we're interested in. And we go after with plausible, facts of some kind, trying to use the scientific methods. But going back to the COVID, here's what I know. I think personally, the COVID virus has been geo-engineered, prefab. Now, we're not sure now. I'd like to think it's the Chinese that did it. Something went wrong, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? I'm also, and please, America, take no offense. It could also remotely, although it could also mean that the CIA had implanted a virus in Wuhan, because the world knows that Chinese culture dictates that they'll eat anything that moves and put it in a soup and eat it, and on and on. But this was not Mother Nature's doing. I am totally convinced of it. This was premeditated by whom we don't know yet. All fingers are pointing at China. Okay, we'll leave it at that for the time being. Will the truth come out eventually? Yes, maybe. Could this have been a decoy because of what happened in January with Iran shooting down a plane thinking it was a U.S. plane, but unfortunately it was a Canadian plane, and some innocent lives got whacked? All this stuff, put it all together, and it sort of becomes a political puzzle, PP, what I call PP, political puzzle. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But make no mistake, the virus is real. You got to be careful. You got to take, the medical people's advice and not touch anyone. I mean, kiss or hug, or, oh my God, the jokes that have been going on because of that are limitless, because, our freedom has been taken away. We as humans like to, go out and hang about and go to restaurants, go to theaters, go all places, and all that's been taken away from us. So we feel incarcerated. And you know damn well that incarceration is no good for the psycho. There's a lot of people that are going nuts. So it's a big problem. And because I think that this C virus was created to create the mothers of all recessions. And if they don't fix the problem now, the C virus problem within the next 60 days, we're going to see the mother of all recessions and probably a Great Depression come January next year. That's my take. Yeah.
I have issues with the people who are constantly saying that we need to, I guess, open back up. That, hey, it's not as bad as they said it was going to be, so now we can open back up. And I think it's pretty obvious. Like, yeah, we shut everything down. Like, obviously, it's not as bad as they said it was.
Yeah.
There's a guy named Steven Crowder who is like jumping up and down, like, see, I told you guys it wasn't going to be 2 million, and it's like they said it was going to be 2 million, like if we did nothing about it. And now
2 million,
obviously it's not 2 million.
What?
It's supposed
2
to be
million.
2.2 million infected.
Oh,
And,
okay. In America?
no, just I think it was yes, I think it was across the world that was supposed to be 2.2 million.
Okay.
Yes.
And usually the common denominator was 1%. You do the math. 1% of 2 million would actually need medical attention of some kind, and then half of that would die from it, only resulting with the following: people that are aged 65 are at greater risk, and people that are aged 50 plus with underlying conditions are at the greatest risks. Meaning, if you have diseases of any kind, being cured for cancer, heart disease, whatever, and all that kind of stuff. This is what I've been told, and it's plausible, because when you do have those underlying conditions, your immune system is down, and without a good immune system, it's very difficult to fight any virus or bacteria or disease. We all know that. It's common sense.
So when you say in response to the whole thing with Iran, are you saying that China or the United States would plant it in China to as some sort of decoy, or what do you mean when you say
Well,
it
no,
was in
because
response?
it's too close to some reality because of what happened. I mean, this is what we know, is that the Iranians tried to down a plane, and they admitted it. From what I know, they admitted they tried to down a plane accidentally, according to them, but they downed it. And the fact is that they thought it was an American plane, but it happened to be Canadian Iranians on that plane, and therefore there were 63 innocent lives that got killed. And everybody was concentrating on that. It happened like late January, I believe, or mid-January. And then all of a sudden you don't hear anybody talking about that anymore, because they brought up the C virus, which went out of proportions, and of course it created total pandemonium. It created a major recession, is what I'm seeing. It is a major recession. I don't care what anybody tells me. Mm-hmm. You don't need to be a rocket scientist or an economist to know that we're in a major recession. So all I'm saying is, who planted it there? Not quite sure. Many theories, and I've given you some of those theories, and I'm not going to be redundant, but here's one of the other theories that crossed my mind through hearsay, was that unfortunately China has been gaining a lot of world dominance in the last 25 years. With all due respect, and please do not call me a racist, because I hate everyone equally well, especially my own kind, so I'm not racist. Fair enough. But here's what I'm saying, is that China, I wouldn't want to, I couldn't serve well under China. I've been serving well under US of A, because we're part of the same continent. We have the quasi-same culture, the way we eat, the way we dress, the way we think. Yeah, we're Canadians. Yeah, we get teased. Oh, these guys are Canucks, but we're brothers and sisters in arms. Maybe not on the ice, because we fight a lot on the ice when playing hockey, but at least we're brothers and sisters in arms, and I like it just fine. And I couldn't see myself serving under a foreign regime, with all due respect to them. I mean, I can respect them, but for them to come and dictate, hey, now you're a communist body, and we've got cameras everywhere in your bathroom when you go and take a dump. We've got a camera and keeping an eye on you. Heck no, that's not going to happen. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm not going to let it happen. Anyways, but so maybe, just maybe, who knows, some underground powers that be in the States said, you know what, we're going to knock off China as the number one economic power right now. We're going to create some trouble, and then the world's going to point fingers at them. This is what's going. I'm using conjecture, guys. Please don't hate me. I'm not accusing anyone. Just like, you know, but, and they probably went there, they planted the virus in this Wuhan, whatever, and they said that it came from, you know, Batman's flying bat and blah, 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 and let's start a war or something like that. That's what's happening. But right now, what the world needs to do is to contain the virus, is to find a cure for it, a cure, not even a vaccine. The vaccine can come out, you know, 10 years from now, for all I care. Find a cure, just like when you have an infection, your throat, nose, and you're all swollen, you're about to die, you take some antibiotics, 10 days later, the infection is gone. Well, that's the same thing they should be doing right now, is to find a cure for the C-19 COVID virus. And then the vaccine will come later. And that brings up a whole new conspiracy because, you know, everybody's been attacking Dr. Fauci, Bill Gates. Personally, I'm not afraid to say it. I'm not crazy about Bill Gates because I call him Sneaky Bill. You know what I'm saying? And that brings up to a whole conspiracy of my world of snakes and reptilians and Draco reptilians. And we're not going to get into that because you won't have enough of 5 hours of recording time if we get into that.
Yeah, I know a lot of people who are upset with Bill Gates right now. They think that he was too conveniently talking about viruses taking over right before all of this took place and just conveniently setting things in place for some sort of pandemic. So,
well, let me, it's funny, you hit a sensitive nerve. Ask me if I'm going to take any vaccine which will plausibly be coming out within the next 6 months to a year. Ask me, please.
Are you going to be taking a vaccine that comes out anytime soon?
No, and I'll tell you why. Unless I have my medical lab people, private lab people, which are already on standby to dissect what's in the vaccine, because I've heard rumors that they may be putting some nanometallic particles inside that can do this and that, detect, trace, blah, 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 enhance, what's it called, cellular restructuring within those nanoparticles. Cellular, I don't mean a cellular phone. I mean the cells in your body can be remotely tampered with through the cellular. So I've heard all these stories from a lot of them coming from doctors, and your guess is as good as mine. So in other words, will I stick out my arm if the vaccine? No, give me a sample of it. I want my lab to check it out, and then I'll even probe them if they are real after my private lab has checked it out. And I've already got the connections on standby. By the way, we've talked about this continuously. May I plug our group on Facebook? Can I?
Yes, yeah, please.
All right, so we started a Facebook group called What's Bothering You? Very simple. What's bothering you? Could be anything. And guess what the greatest subject matter has been in the last month since we started with one member? We're now today up to 1,050 members, like 3.5 weeks later. That's how fast it grew. What's bothering you? And you'll see my ugly face as part of the co-founder, administrator, and people are constantly saying tit for tat. And then we have an ethics committee as well, because when they get into politics, and you know, North America, even Canadians are divided. You say anything bad about Trump, they'll skull bang you in a heartbeat. You say anything bad about the Democrats, you'll get the other side that's skull banging you. So we have to keep the peace. and say, guys, we're all brothers and sisters. Everybody's entitled to their opinions. Keep it clean. In other words, no hitting below the belt.
That's surprising that people over in Canada are also split on Trump, because I know over here it's nonstop just craziness. You try to just not just don't even mention it.
Well, let me tell you why. Because I'm the living proof. Because whether people like it or not, and I'm not faking an orgasm, I'm very, very content with the fact that I'm part of North America on your northern borders. And as a child, I grew up, respecting America because we're really brothers and sisters. America is like my older brother type of thing. And because of that, I never would feel threatened with anything, any foreign country which may have dictatorial tendencies, thinking they can come in Canada and kick, because we're a small country compared to US of A, and in terms of firepower, we're nowhere near the firepower that you guys have. So I feel protected. And this is why I tell my American friends, please guys, especially some of the people in the Timbuktu, I shouldn't even be joking about that, but in some of these small, towns where they don't even know where Canada is, like, wake up. We've been attached to you like a Siamese twin for the last God knows how many millions of years, that type of thing. So in essence, we are very much affected by U.S. politics, very much. And we know as much about U.S. politics as we know about our own politics.
Yeah, I've heard Jordan Peterson a lot of times, who's from Canada, talk a lot about U.S. politics and how the Constitution kind of shapes Canadian law as well. So I'm just now finding this out. It's very surprising to me, I guess, because in the United States, most of us don't really, I guess, know much about countries outside of our country, and it's surprising more and more to find out that whatever happens in the United States, kind of the rest of the world always knows about it.
Well, absolutely, because again, you are a superpower, and this is where there's a plausible superpower takeover, because China. This is my personal opinion. China is trying to take over the world and dominate the world with their dictatorial communist know-how. And I, for one, don't want to see it ever, not during my lifetime, or I've got kids I call them kids. They're full-grown adults and, have their own families. But guys your age, I wouldn't want to see that ever happening. With all due respect, don't get me wrong. I love the culture. I love, what they've been doing for thousands of years, but please, not for me. I like it. Leave me alone. I like it just fine. You can mimic me, you can laugh at me, but I love my North American culture just fine. Yeah.
Okay, so do you know, you were talking about, I guess, the cellular stuff that they would put into your
on the vaccine side?
With the vaccines. And somebody was telling me the other day that they're actually coming up with like chips and things that they can put into your into your skin that would actually detect like when you're sick, and they can but it would also detect like if you're moving around. So if they tell you to lock down, they can tell if you leave your house and things like that.
Absolutely. First of all, you have to appreciate that unless they can prove that it's for the greatness of humanity, where, this is not harmful, we're not going to be doing it. In other words, declare everything that's inside, let the humanity know beforehand, and then humanity can have it tested on their own private clinics, because it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know if there are particles. I'm not a scientist, I'm not a doctor, I'm not in the health medical world, but I know this, and I say again, forgive my redundancy, I'm not taking any vaccine until my people tell me it's safe for go. That's it, period. And I'll take my chances, and if I had to, I would tell my own kids not to do it. That's how much I distrust what's being pushed right now. I really, really distrust it.
Yeah, I understand the fear of it. I do. I'm one of those people who's like, hey, government wants to put cameras in my bedroom or whatever. Fine. Like, I'm not doing anything, so I
Whoa,
don't really
whoa,
care.
whoa, 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 whoa! Wait now. Now you're scaring me, Tom. With all due respect.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you're 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 being facetious now, or are you
Uh,
being serious?
I obviously I'm being a little uh the words eluding me, but I'm taking it a little bit farther. I'm being a little sarcastic with it, but for the most part, like, I don't mind government oversight. I feel like if they're saying like, "Hey, it's for your protection," for the most part, I'm not doing anything wrong. I don't really care. And if it helps find people who are doing things wrong, then like, for the most part, I think it's for the benefit.
Well, I disagree with that because if they want to put cameras all over the place, well, once you leave your home, that's fine. Like on the highways, they already
Mhm.
have them, in the streets and what have you, and they can survey you. They can, with Google satellite, they can zoom in and see you in your backyard and what you're doing. But as far as my privacy in the home, like when I'm taking a shower type of thing, or forget it. That's not going to happen. Not during my lifetime, because I won't let it happen. I have alternative choices, and by the way, I'm not suicidal in case it's crossing your mind, because life is precious. It's beautiful, but I wouldn't let that happen. Believe me. Otherwise, we're going to become just like in the science fiction movies of the 60s and 70s before you were born, where we had this sort of totalitarian governments, controlling us, and we were like walking zombies. No, I'm not going to let that happen. And this
Yeah.
is what we're preaching right now. There's only so far. You know what? Just like we're from a military standpoint, we're on a need to know basis. When it comes to secrecies and things of that nature. Well, guess what? Government is on a need to know basis, the way I see it, running my life. It's none of their freaking business, as far as some of the things are concerned.
Yeah.
Okay.
I understand that part of it. I do. I understand people not wanting it. It's just, to me personally, privacy isn't all that important. Like, I don't really care about it. I'm on a podcast. My life is pretty much an open book. I understand that I'm probably different than a lot of people.
So is mine, but once I get off the podcast and I want to be home, pardon the expressions, in my Speedo or boxers and scratch my nuts, forgive the expression, I definitely don't want people to see it on candid camera. You know what I'm saying? So they can have a good laugh. That's my business. Do you
Yeah,
follow?
sure. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, go
Definitely.
ahead. I'm sorry. I've detoured somewhat from your other questions.
No, you haven't. So, um, with the stuff in China, there is more and more information coming out that supposedly it came from a lab.
Yep.
Um, and from the beginning, my kind of thought was, yes, it probably was being experimented on, and it was probably contracted somehow and got out. But there's also information out there saying that it likely was able to mutate and go from animals to humans eventually. I believe SARS did the same thing, or swine flu. Um, and maybe even bird flu, I believe, actually did the same exact thing. So it's common for viruses to mutate and then be able to go uh, to be able to be contracted by humans then afterwards. And so, what is it that you think actually shows some sort of foul play uh, here?
Well, it's it's trying to put the puzzle together. It's only a wild guess, because if I knew for sure, I'd be working for the CIA as one of their intelligence officers, but I'm not that intelligent. I'm just going by bits and pieces of what happened, and the plausibility of it all. And I'm using conjecture. I say again, I'm using conjecture. So right now, uh, America's got a big problem is to stop this contagion, stop this disease virus going any further. And once they've stopped it, then slowly getting back together, and then I know what's going to happen, whether it's Trump or Joe Biden, come next year, they're going to say, by the way, China, we got a little gift for you. It's called a $12 trillion debt, not 2 trillion, $12 trillion debt by the time it's all over and done with. And of course, China is going to say, go F yourselves. We're not paying. Oh, okay. So we're going to seize all of your assets, including your assets in Canada. Oh, yeah? And that's when push comes to shove, and that's when they'll threaten with other severe matters as far as, hey, I'm going to push the button first if you don't take back that blame game. And then, of course, that's when my ETs are going to come out and neutralize all the nuclear warheads as they've done before in the past. But if we're not going to get into that, because I say again, you're not going to have enough of 5-hour recording time.
Well, I guess the U.S. right now owes China like 1.1 trillion, and they've always been afraid that China is just out of nowhere going to come and collect, but it's kind of everything.
But this is why it fits in well with my thinking, because they're probably not going to do that. As a matter of fact, if China is smart, they'll say, all right, you know what? Let's erase the debt. We'll start over again, and we'll call it a day. And you guys hush it and cool it on this blame game. Let's continue being, partners in crime, because when business at that level is very, very, I choose the word correct, it's very criminal. It's not for the small guys like me or maybe you, but it is what it is. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, so much in the U.S. is made by China right now. The United States pays so much to their companies and helps their economy so much that it would be ridiculous for China to turn around and want us to pay them out of nowhere. But at the same rate, I mean, China makes everything for the United States, anything from clothes to pharmaceuticals to whatever you name it. China makes it and sends it to the United States. And so for the same rate, like, it would be ridiculous for the United States to turn around and try to get China to pay up on any sort of debt as well.
Well, but your guess is as good as mine. I mean, you call yourselves a conspiratorial type of show. Is that correct? Without any offense taken, is it?
No, not really. Like, we've had, I think, 1 or 2 like conspiratorial type people on out of 15 episodes.
Okay,
it's mostly politics and philosophy and stuff like that.
Okay. You're more grounded, but you know what? It is what it is, and this is what's going to transpire in the next 4 to 6 months. But here's one thing that I'm predicting, just like I predicted last year in my business circles, that we would have a recession, a very serious recession, and we are living it right now. I predicted that 9 months ago. And I'm no clairvoyant. I'm not a business clairvoyant, and it was just an intuition premonition that I had. But here's what I'm also predicting, and I may be repeating myself, forgive, is that we got to fix these problems now within the next couple of months. Otherwise, it'll go out of control. And then, yeah go ahead.
Oh, sorry, finish what you were saying.
Yeah, it'll go out of control, and then what? And then it's, it can get ugly, and your guess of what ugly is just as good as mine. And we've talked about certain ugly matters that can take place in the coming months. I pray to God, again, this is where you can see I'm a God believer. I pray to God that, we don't resort to any kind of violence worldwide, and, that we can fix the problems somewhat amicably, but the push will come to shove before anything is fixed amicably, if ever.
Yeah, with economists were projecting a slowdown in the economy anyways for months now, and the coronavirus now may actually save the economy. The way that they're projecting as soon as everything opens up, the way all of the businesses are just going to be booming all of a sudden because.
But what happens, Tom? Let me ask you an intelligent question. What happens, in your opinion, if all of a sudden, we all open up and everybody goes back to work? And I'd like to make a point, which is also a very intelligent suggestion. And then all of a sudden, the COVID comes back with a vengeance because everybody went back to work. Is that proof enough then that some people that were naysayers would say, oh my God, this is real. Holy shit. I mean, this is real. What now? And then it becomes that much more difficult to contain. That's one aspect of it. Fair enough?
Yeah.
That is one aspect of it. The other thing I had suggested last week on our own weekly radio show was that why not let the younger people, please, I'm not being racist now, I'm being practical. Take guys like me that are 65 years and older, leave them be at home for a little while longer, let out the younger people that need to live their lives, that need to be with people, that need to go out, need to re-kickstart the economy. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not fair to have young people like you incarcerated in their home jail cell. It's just not fair. And this is where I feel for humanity. And us older guys saying, all right, you can go out once in a while, provided you wear a mask, provided you keep your distance, provided you're not going to touch or hug and kiss anyone, which, I mean, let's face it, we've been there, done that. It's up to you to follow suit now. You know what I'm saying? Of course, I'm being facetious, but it's all plausible truth. Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I've thought about this a lot as well. And the way that I think about it is that right now, it's a very small amount of the population that actually has the virus. And that if we let the young people go out and get sick, then the virus will be contracted a lot faster, especially when you can go about 10 days without showing any sort of any signs of sickness, right? You don't even know that you have it, and you can be passing it on to other people at the same time. And so if all of a sudden now old people are coming out, the masks don't work very well. They're not covering people's faces very well. People are still touching their faces nonstop, and they'll put on gloves and then touch their mouth and everything with gloves. It's not helping all of that much. And so yeah, go ahead.
Guilty as charged. I just wanted to say guilty as charged. Go ahead.
Yeah. But yeah, if we allow people to go out to where the virus is spread a lot wider, now it's a lot harder for old people to just go to the grocery store real quick and pick up a receipt from the teller, or for them to, even just pick up a drink out of the gas station doors or something like that, because it's likely that now everything is contaminated and it'd be hard for them to go anywhere. Same with their kids, maybe coming home from school, or my parents are 65 and above, and we all have to keep our distance, and we can't go anywhere around them, and we can't see them. My brother just had his wedding, and everybody had to sit in their cars for the wedding and pull up to it, and it was just, what worries me is that we go back to business as usual, and then it spreads a lot faster, and then it's not just like a 1 or 2% death rate, but because it's spreading to so many more people who were being careful before, now it's going to be much higher.
So what do you think should be the solution? Because, I mean, let's call the spade a spade. The vaccine, if ever, is not going to be made available until 6 months to a year, from what I'm hearing and seeing, or seeing and hearing. So what solution do you bring to humanity?
If anybody's watched my show, they know I hate socialism, man. But right now, this is a call for socialism. Like, we have to be able to take care of the people who can't take care of themselves. Especially, this is my biggest issue, is if the government is shutting down your business and telling you that you can't go to work or that you can't make money, it is now the government's responsibility to pay your bills. Like, it just is.
Absolutely. They have to do that. I agree with you there. But I'm not going to get into that, because then, some of your listeners are going to say, tell that big, fat, old mouth to shut the F up. and mind his own freaking business. I've heard it so many times before, and it doesn't fizz me the least bit. Okay, everybody's entitled to their opinions, but you get some very aggressive people. You'd swear they're going to send a drone over your house and zap you.
That man, this is a show about ideas. It's a show about ideas. Nobody's going to be upset with you. They're willing.
No. I'm just being facetious because I'm not. This one beautiful thing about reaching 65 is that you no longer fear anything or anyone. You just do what you got to do because your time on Earth is preset. I mean, the average lifespan for people my generation is 80 to 85. So what? I might live till 90. Whoopee. You're not going to jog any marathon at 85. Let me tell you.
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I thought you were about to say something else before.
No. I do come up for air once in a while. I'm pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, let's see. I did have one more, but I don't actually remember what it was. Did you have anything else that you wanted to?
No, I just wanted to say I'd like to see this virus contained somehow in the next, let's say, 2 months. And then slowly I'd like to see the economy go back to some sort of pre-existing terms and conditions. And then last but not in the least, I don't trust any vaccines. I'd like for the governments to give us permission to have our own independent testing of said through private medical labs, and it's not very expensive. You'd be surprised. A few $1,000s, you get a group of people, and I'm probably going to, on behalf of What's Bothering You, our Facebook group, I'm probably going to pick up the tab as an advertising ploy, and say, all right, here's what our scientists have found in it. It's safe for go. It's safe for go. Then everybody will stick out their arms and prick away. But if they find anything that spells nanotechnology particles of any kind that could resemble, mind enhancing, this is the same shit like, for example, we've had for 20 years, chemtrails, which you don't see very often. You know what chemtrails are?
I know what contrails are.
Well, contrails are the exhaust that comes out of a jet airplane flying at 600 miles an hour at 30,000 feet plus because of the hot and cold. It leaves a contrail which only lasts, it dissipates like, 30 seconds later, it's gone. But a chemtrail are chemical trails that they've been putting up where they crisscross the globe. They usually spray during the night, and it stays there for the longest time. And theories, conspiracy theories have it that they contain some sort of aluminum something. And there was a scientist that gave a full report. I even had a show to that effect on mainstream media. And that's the stuff that we've been absorbing in the last 20 years, but you don't see much of them anymore. And maybe because, consumers, citizens of the world were catching on, and the MIC military industrial complex said, well, these guys are getting a little too smart for our good likes. So let's see if we can come out with something else to control these guinea pigs, Again, it sounds like a conspiracy, but you know what? There's plausible truth to a lot of the conspiracies. But you have to prove it to, take down a government. Or,
but why?
Sorry, not take down, but attack a government and accuse them of some
hold
wrong.
Them accountable. Yeah.
Hold them accountable. Thank you for helping me out. Yes.
Yeah, I just don't understand why we would think that they're chemtrails and not contrails. Like, why aren't they contrails?
Well, I just finished explaining to you because contrails dissipate after the jet. Let's say a Boeing, okay, is going at 600 miles an hour at 33,000 feet because of the hot and cold air, the hot air coming out from the jet stream versus the cold atmospheric altitude. It creates like a contrail.
So you're
You know,
saying it's staying for too long, or
well, yeah, chemtrails they last forever. Like they'll spray at night. You wake up in the morning. I've even taken pictures of chemtrails that were there, which whereby they sprayed at night, and in the morning you saw it. And then some of the guys were saying, "Well, we're trying to fix the ozone layers." Like, give me a freaking break. Come on, tell us. And then some scientists have started pointing out some of the chemicals that they contained inside, like bauxite, which is aluminum. Again, I failed miserably in biology and chemistry, so I'm the last guy who's going to explain to you intelligently what it entails. But they are called chemtrails, and all of a sudden, in the last year, you haven't seen as many as I did in the last 20 years. Do you follow what
okay.
I'm saying? So that's
Yeah.
all I'm saying. And the reason being, because maybe the MIC, military industrial complex, has said exactly that. He goes, we're going to stop this because these guys are getting too smart. Let's find something else that's going to keep them busy and wondering how we're going to enhance. And by the way, have you, on your own accord, have you heard that the Alzheimer's and dementia, mental diseases have increased tenfold in the last 20 years?
Yeah, of course.
Could those be responsible? I don't know. I don't know. In my book, everybody has the right to live an average lifespan. Death and disease, or disease and death, should be non-existing, okay? Until you reach 80, 85, then, you can drop dead for all I care, because I don't want to be around. I see some, much older people in their 90s, and I don't want to look like that and feel like, I'm just existing and lifting my head up for them to feed me. No freaking way. I mean, they shoot horses, don't they? Remember that movie? Or no, you're too young. But like pets, a pet that's sick, they put them to sleep. I'm not going to get into that because this is very controversial and it's going to get me in trouble. And then people are going to say, Don, it's time to lock you up. Well, no, you ain't locking me up. As long as I have the freedom of speech, you can shoot me if you want, but you ain't going to lock me up, that type of thing.
Sorry, I prepared for somebody much crazier than you. I assumed I was going to be getting into like 5G and.
Oh, let's talk about 5Gs.
Okay, let's do 5G.
All right, let's talk about 5Gs. We went as high as 4Gs. Now there's rumors that 5Gs, again, disrupt the cellular functioning of the body. When I say cellular, because, again, you got to define the cellular, the functioning of cells, body cells. Okay? Again, I don't know enough about the subject matter to be able to give you an intelligent response, but you hear some of this stuff from very credible people. And I don't mean the grandma that wakes up one morning and while she's knitting a sweater says, I'm going to go on Tom Foley's show and talk about 5Gs and make me famous, rich and famous. No, I don't know enough, but there's a lot of people out there into the millions that are really, really concerned about this 5G. Now, here's something we have to look out for when they do let us out of jail. Are you ready for this one?
Yeah, sure.
Who knows? Maybe we'll notice a whole slew of 5G towers that are being put up as we are incarcerated because they're keeping us indoors so we don't get to see some of the hanky-panky that goes on in the streets across the world. Who knows? That's another conspiracy theory that somebody has, forsaken me with, type of thing.
I'm in Atlanta. 5G is everywhere. Like I can pull out my phone and show you right now. I've got 5G. No matter where I go, I've got 5G.
Okay,
I've
so
had it for a while.
how do you feel about it, seeing that you brought it up? Because go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't. Again, I'm not an expert. It's just a lot of the times with the conspiracy theories, it is a lot of things like you say, like, well, it's 5G. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't know, but maybe it is. And it's like that. I wait for the dots to be connected before I say maybe it is. You know what I mean?
One thing's for sure is that it is your right as a citizen of the world to question anything which you and or millions of other people believe to be health and or life threatening. It is your right,
Sure.
and not to be afraid. However, everything costs money. In order to get an independent research group working on those theories, you got to get a group of people that will put some money where their mouths are. Because everybody, yeah, tell me, I'm sure it's this. And then you ask them to contribute, let's say $50 to help pay these scientists that are going to do the research, right? And give us, render us a complete, fair report. Oh, well, no, I don't have the money, or I'm not interested. Well, excuse me. This is where I'm agreeing with some people. Society doesn't owe you anything. What can I tell you? If you're not willing, I mean, go figure. They're willing to pay $50 to blow it on stupidities, and yet they won't blow $50 to get a report that will tell them if they'll live till 80 or not.
Yeah, sure. I mean, lots of reports have been done on 5G, though, and they show that it can do what people are afraid of them doing. It,
Is that a fact? Is that a
yes,
fact?
yes. So it can't cause coronavirus, but it can mess with the cells in your body. It has to be blown up by like 10,000%, and it's like a minuscule amount of that. And they've actually had numerous scientists have gone out and done tests on these things to see exactly how much. And it's true, like having waves all around us, and cell phone waves and radio waves and whatever else. Like it is crazy to think that I've got cell phone data passing by me this whole time.
In the last 20 years, has not Wi-Fi been going through your body and brains in your own home?
Yeah,
yes
sure.
or no? I mean, I've got Wi-Fi galore in my home. So will that eventually work wonders one way or the other? I know it's not making me more intelligent, but who knows? Maybe in 10 years they'll find out that it wasn't good for you. So you're saying that tests were done and therefore 5G is not, I say again, is not dangerous. It's been proven.
Yes, that is what the tests say. Now, again, you can turn around and say, well, I don't know these scientists. I don't know if they're trustworthy. I don't know what their process was. Things like that. Fair enough. That's all true. But as far as from what I've seen, yes, the tests have been done and we can look at the results. So.
Yeah, because you gotta use a very scientific approach. It's like, I get a lot of stories thrown at me about ETs and UFO conspiracy theories. Fair enough. You've heard them, I'm sure, where they'll say such and such a politician is part of the Draco reptilian family of the secret society, and they eat babies for lunch. Okay, okay. My God, that's scary. And it's so easy to get brainwashed because when you hear and see these stories, like I saw a video, I can swear that I never saw these people who stood accused, people that both you and I know, of being part of these secret society, Draco reptilian driven individuals that are satanic or Satan worshippers that have babies for lunch. I mean, I just thinking of it, I feel like regurgitating or throwing up in good old American English. And yet, I kind of caution myself and say, should I look at these people in the same way I've always looked at them? No. Here's another conspiracy, because I mean, this is why I was brought in at the last minute to sort of tease your audience and say,
sure.
for example, Harvey Weinstein, who was a big Hollywood mogul, okay? In my book, I have no reasons to believe that he was not a dirty old man. There's no reason, because that was the mindset of our generation when we were growing up. girls were targets. Let's have some fun, free sex. Let's pardon the expression, bang them and leave them, type of thing. But women have evolved in the last 40, 50 years. They're not sex objects. If a woman allows you to have access to her body, it's because she likes you, she loves you, whatever. You know what I'm saying? And that's fine. God created that for those means. But the fact is, then when you get guys like Epstein, who apparently committed suicide, okay, whether he committed suicide, whether they whacked him in the New York prisons because he represented some heavyweights that we all know. I need not mention names except one guy, like Prince Andrew and blah, blah, blah. Okay, you whack, show me the body. Can you show me the body? Why that? Why, Don? I'd like to see the body. Show him on just like, show me Bin Laden's body. Oh, we couldn't show it to you. He was badly blowing up. Show me the fucking body. Never mind if I'm going to throw up or not. You know why? Because the conspiracy theory says, who's to say that this guy with all the money that he had was not in the middle of the night put in, covered up and, fake blood and everything and what have you, blood, and then on a corporate jet flown to some remote island in the Pacifics where all the, evil people reside and have fun. And who's to say? I mean, I'm not saying it's plausible, but show me the body. No. Again, they're always telling you we can't show you certain things. Or MIC, military industrial complex. Sorry, you're on a need to know basis. Oh yeah? Okay, here's a conspiracy theory. What happens if the middle class of humanity, okay, think internationally now. How many, in your opinion, I'm asking you, Tom, how many people form part of the middle class worldwide out of 7.8 billion, B as in Bob, that we presently have on Earth? How many are the middle class people?
I don't know the number. I believe it's around 69% of them, though.
No. Worldwide, we're 15%. We're about 15% of the middle class people. We're the ones that pay the taxes. Fair enough. We're the ones that pay the taxes. So I've been saying it for years. I'm not ashamed to say it. How you want to bring down the cabals, the people that do idiotic things without our knowledge, and then if you get too close for comfort, they'll whack you like a plethora of people that were investigating UFOs and all that kind of stuff, okay, or secret societies that have passed on that were killed in a very peculiar way. Well, have those 15% of the world population stop paying taxes for a year. See what happens. Where are they going to get the money? Do you follow what I'm saying? Where are they going to get the money? Just like when you hear, I was just watching a video while doing my workout this morning with Dr. Stephen Greer. He was showing a video on how, the CIA, for example, they own phantom companies to be able to sell illegal arms, drugs, etc., so they can fund their operations. And then the name of the game is to move into dictatorial type countries and say, well, we're doing it in the name of democracy, in the name of, trying to teach them how to live the American way. That's fine. But the fact is that there's a lot of wrongdoing and they don't want us to know about it. Okay, that's fine. So in other words, I just got to pay my taxes and keep my mouth shut. Again, what I'm disclosing right now are bits and pieces of what I've gathered over the years of being who I think I am. These are not my personal views necessarily, although I do share some of them, and that's why I sound somewhat convincing, if you know what I'm saying.
Sure.
Okay, but it's on and on and on. We'll never know. We'll never know. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I overshot the runway. You see, that's the part you didn't know about me. is once I get talking, I could be here for hours. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, not at all, man. Like I said, I prepare for somebody else, so I'm glad that you got a lot to say. 'Cause
Oh, okay. All right.
I'm willing to listen. Here in the United States, the tax system is a little bit different. Like the top 1% pays almost 30. I think it's like 37% of the taxes in the United States. 1% pays 37%. So these guys are paying a whole lot of taxes, while the middle class is like 79% of the United States. But it's different for us because I make less than $40,000 a year. I am in the top 1% of the world, right? The entire world, just because I live in the United States. And in the United States, I'm fairly poor, but in the world, I'm in the top 1%. So I keep forgetting, it's very, very different for us.
Agreed. But and by the way, there's one other thing where we can get down to serious. My family has owned farmland for the last 36 years. We own a few million square feet of farmland, which we rent out to a local farmer and has been farming that farmland, let's say, for the last 32, 33 years. Fair enough for a small revenue, piece of revenue. Well, I've been reading up on that. Do you know that by 2030, which is just 10 years away from now, we're going to have a world shortage of food? And do you know for a fact that China, because they've got more billionaires than anywhere else in the world, because of their population, everything is pro rata, they've been buying out farmlands everywhere in North America, and now there seems to be putting a stop to it. Well, here's my advice to people your age, give or take. You guys, some of you guys should pick up farming, because that's a very lucrative future business. Farmlands will be worth an arm and a leg as soon as the shortage of food commences, which could start as early as next year if we don't fix this BS problem. Okay,
Yeah,
that's the better one.
Have you seen all of the like sheep and pigs and all of the animals that are just being slaughtered right now because there's not enough people, there's not enough of a market right now for all of the livestock that's been grown?
Well, you know what? From a animal loving point of view, they shouldn't be slaughtered the way they slaughter them. Usually, I hope they euthanize them just like they would a cat or a dog.
Yeah, they do.
Or what they should do is ask China, do you want these pigs and sheeps, and we'll ship them out to you, and take them. I mean, and here's a good price because we have an excess, but not put them to waste. But killing them in a barbaric way, no, but in a euthanasian way, yes. And once the animal's dead, then you can skin it alive all the way you want because it's dead and it's got no more feelings. Just like when we get cremated, what do I care if they do me well done once I'm dead? I'm by all means.
Yeah, I believe that's what they're doing. They're euthanizing all the animals, but then they pack them up in these truckloads and just dump them into these giant fires to get rid of them. And from what I understand,
why not negotiate a deal with some other countries that may, and they can monetize from them? I don't understand that part. See, it's hard to be an expert in all fields. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, from what I understand, like you mentioned China, from what I understand, they're going through their second round right now, that they're shutting down everything for a second time right now because of the spread is getting
so
that too many people
wouldn't it be in their
again.
best interest? Wouldn't it be in their best interest to import the livestock from us, seeing that they're not producing their own?
Maybe. I don't know that they're not producing their own. All I know is that they're having a lot more
I
issues.
mean, listen, at the end of the day, don't, you know, I make it sound like I'm Mr. Courageous. I mean, there's part of me that's as scared as anybody else because, you know, fear is the unknown, and I don't quite know where we're going with this. But in conclusion, if I may, you know, sort of come down on a denouement on this storytelling, is that people now need to fix the problem and find a cure. Find a cure, not a vaccine. Vaccine is to prohibit people getting sick eventually. Find a cure. Hey, I got C19. All right, stick out your arm. Here's the antibiotic. I call it an antibiotic shot, and you'll feel better within a week, and then you'll be fine. And make sure you don't catch it again because we don't have a vaccine yet. Do you follow what I'm saying? But the cure, so that people will not be scared as they are now, because people are scared shitless. I'm telling you, they are. Some people are going mad. I mean, there's been an increase because of the C19 ordeal. There's been an increase amount of people getting mentally sick on drugs, booze, alcohol, smoking, overeating, all the bad habits humans can think of, conjugal violence, and on and on and on. I mean, you know, what's been reduced in the streets in terms of violence has gone into the homes, and that's even more dangerous because innocent women and children are at risk. You know what I'm saying? From some of the bad dudes that would normally create the violence on the road and then come home and sort of settle down, you know. And I'm not advocating that, you know, that is right. I mean, that is totally wrong, of course.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I appreciate you coming on. I'm glad I got an episode today.
Oh, good.
And you're very good at speaking, man. I got a real pro. So that was awesome. I really appreciate it.
You know, I speak from the heart, and people that have known me for quite a while, you know, I'm not here to try and be Joe somebody or, you know, rich and famous. I've given that up a long time ago. I just want to be able to contribute to the betterment of humanity. I definitely want my kids who are your age to usufruct from a better tomorrow. Is there some truth that our generation, and I'm just going to say it once, fucked up the world? Yeah, there is some truth to that. And am I guilty? Yeah, maybe indirectly because of my bad habits. And now all of a sudden, before I leave the planet, I'm trying to make nice, make good, so that I want to be remembered saying, hey, that guy was not bad after all. And, you know, some kid 20 years from now is going to see our video and say, hey, that guy spoke well for an old timer in those days, and, you know, that type of shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so,
sure.
Let me leave a message for America. Stay home, stay safe, be happy. And I want to show you my theatrics, may I? And just steal 2 more minutes, and then, folks, I'll bet you. Okay, there's an all-time favorite poem that I wrote 25 years ago, which I've used it commercially to my advantage. It's called The Secret for Happiness. And it goes like this. The secret for happiness, as I've been told, is merely an illusion, an opinion for those who behold that health is the most important element of all. Yet many people's minds come to a stall when obscured by all those things which money could buy. Good old health, one can kiss it goodbye. The secret for happiness, as I have been told, is merely an opinion for those who behold that love is the most important element of all. Even at that, most people cannot recall the last time they helped a friend in need, one of God's will on earth, the ultimate deed. The secret for happiness, as I've been told, is merely an opinion for those who behold that wealth, fame, and power are the most important elements of all, whereby millions of people are all on the ball ready to cheat, betray, and kill thy neighbor for those distorted illusions that society savors. Well, let me tell you, my dear newfound friend, Tom Foley, the real secret for happiness in the very end is every day which goes by in your frame of mind, you'll find happiness of some kind left behind.
Awesome. Thanks, Don. Appreciate you coming on.
All the best, guys.
See you guys later.